All right, so today we are going to go over everything revolving around staff, rostering, and timesheets, just to give you a good overview of how these features were designed and the best way to use them. We will, in the future, touch on some other more detailed features around this, but I suppose we'll just give you an overview today about these features. All right, so the first thing that you'll see here is our staff management page. Now, you'll find this under staff management, and this contains all the staff members that you will have in your system. Now, if you're at multi-site level, so if you have a number of sites, they will be created at each site level. If you have only one site, for instance, like we do here in the client demo, all your staff will fall underneath this one site. So the first thing that I'll show you how to do is editing staff. So you'll see here we have a view of all the staff names, their usernames in the system, which are emails. You can hover over to view details, see their hourly rate, and then themes, which is a color that will help distinguish them when we come to do rostering. So if I click on edit beside one of our staff members here, we will actually be able to see there are a bunch of options that you can edit. The first thing that it gives us the option to change is the photo. As we go down the page here, we have the ability to change login details. So this includes the login email and also the password. So if a staff member wants this changed, this can be changed here. As we scroll down, we have personal details, name, contact email, date of birth. Underneath, we have contact number, address, and an emergency contact for that staff member, so that can be accessed on site in case of emergency. And at the very bottom, we have additional information. So this is information around their works, their certifications, their police clearance, theme color, that sort of thing. Now the bottom section here, the additional information section, can only be edited by a staff admin. So the staff themselves cannot edit this, whereas the rest of these details, a staff member can go into Aimy and edit for themselves. So once we're happy with the changes we've made to here, we can hit save.
Just one little thing on that, Luke, for the first aid and the, what was the other one? The
police clearance.
Police clearance. 100 days out from that expiry date, it'll actually alert the staff member and alert the admin to say that expiry date's coming up. So it kind of gives you roughly 3 months to notice to get those things sorted. And then each time you log in, it'll actually then have a red counter and let you know how many days out from 100 days that that's about to expire.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so if we go back to the staff management page, another option that we have regarding the settings of staff members is permission. So if we click on the permission button here, it will actually bring us a page with all the permission settings for this user. Now you can see there's quite a few different permissions here, and these all regard different pages in Aimy. So if you look along the top here, you'll see that there are 4 default permission settings. So we have admin, which has access to everything in terms of permissions. Staff member, which has I suppose a default staff access, so everything a staff would need on site is available here. Program manager is a staff that's on site but has a few more functions because they will usually be the one that's in charge of the program, so they have a few more functions that a normal staff member will have. And then we have a driver, which the main features that they have are the ability to pick up and use access driver reports and things like that. So for this one, when we click these default permissions, it will automatically override. We're going to go back so we don't save it, and we'll go back to their permission settings again. And you'll see that it will revert to how they were. So this person's automatically set as a driver, which means that they have these default permissions here. If we want to change these permissions, all it requires for us is to tick certain boxes. And you'll see that in some of the permissions here, like for instance, this organizations one, and then there's a sub setting underneath that one. So we have organizations is the page that you allow them permission for, and then underneath that is the site setting. So you actually have the ability to show or hide site setup tabs on that page if you want to give even further permission breakdown. And you'll see that we have another one down here, staff management. So this allows the hourly rates, first aid, potential clearance, and notes to show. That's another permission that you could actually give a staff member. And then also the ability to impersonate is another sub-setting or sub-permission that you can give to staff members. So if you're happy with that, you can go ahead and click Save. And that will then automatically save those permissions as you've set them. So if we go to add a new staff, which is a function that you'll be using quite regularly, you'll see here the ability to add email, password, and you can add all the details like we did just before when we went to edit the staff. When you go ahead and click Save, it will then take you to the page where you're allowed to edit permissions. So I suppose you have the ability to edit all the permissions when you come to create a staff for the first time round. Awesome. So if we keep moving here, we have the ability to delete a staff member also. And I suppose that's just if you don't want them in your system, you can remove them from the list. Great. We will move on to rostering staff. So if we go into staff roster, you'll see here we have rosters that are already set up in the system for Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. We can toggle between the views. You'll see if you click current month here, it will give you a view of the whole current month, and the same with the current week. This is the current week. And you have the ability to toggle forward and back weeks and forward and back months if you want to get to different views. So we will click here, Manage Roster. Now you have the ability to create or remove. The bulk remove just allows you, for instance, if you wanted to remove Aaron's staff from these 3 days, you could literally just click Remove Aaron's staff, date range. And so if we did the date range of this week and click Remove, it will remove Aaron from that whole week that we set in that date period. What we're going to do is click Create, and we will add a few people to the staff roster. Now you'll see here that we have a little plus, which is our first aid icon. So if someone is first aid cleared or first aid certified as set up in the staff permissions or the staff settings, it'll actually show here. So we will select a few staff members and roster them on. We will select date range, not a specific day, and let's roster them on from today's date through to Friday. And we'll select here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we will roster them on for before school care. We will set this at 7 in the morning till 8:45, and then we'll roster them on for an after school care session too. So if that's we will set it as 3 to 6 p.m. And then the reference will be ASC. Awesome. Once we're happy with those, we'll go ahead and click Save. Great. So you can see here now it started to pull through all the sessions that we just rostered. You can see that the difference in color actually makes it quite clear who is who in terms of the rostering. And it's quite easy to tell, for instance, Apache here. You can tell from that light blue color, it's quite easy to see them. So another thing you'll notice is that you have a very clear view of on-site, how many people you have and who is first aid certified. And you can see here that each day from Tuesday to Friday, we have someone that's first aid certified, which can help in making sure that we roster the right people on for the day. Awesome. So now that we have people rostered on for today, it means they will show up in our clocking in and clocking out on site. So if we go to staff clock in, clock out tablet, on the tablet it's called staff. You will actually be able to do the clock in, clock out function. So you can see here for today, we have rostered on Apache, driver demo, and Hannah admin. Now, we rostered them on for 2 sessions each, the before school care and the after school care. To clock someone in, it's as easy as clicking the clock in button and then signing them in and then clocking them out for that same session. And you'll see that now shows as closed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for a couple more sessions. Awesome. So you can see now that I have clocked in and clocked out all the before school cares for these 3 people that are rostered on today. So if I go back, we will be able to see in Timesheet where the hours that they've worked. So the timesheet's just essentially a summary of all the worked hours. So after you've created staff, rostered them on, they've clocked in and clocked out, those times that were clocked in and clocked out will show on this timesheet summary. So if I show you here, we have yesterday's date. Now no one, you can see here the rostered start and end time show here, but there was actually no clock in clock outs for yesterday, which just means that there was no actual work here. And the difference, I suppose, is the difference between what they were actually expected to be rostered on for and what they actually worked. So here we have a 6-hour difference in what they were supposed to work. Here 1 hour, 1 hour, 6 hours. And the reason it shows in red is because it's actually 6 hours and 1 hour below what they were actually supposed to work in terms of hours, which just means that they're not working enough for what they're actually rostered on for.
Overtime.
Yeah, and if it goes into overtime, it will then show this color along here as blue instead of red. So you'll see for today where we have Apache, driver demo, and HANA admin, we have the rostered sessions, and we actually have the clock in, clock out actual times here. Now, I suppose if you have staff that are regularly clocking out on site, which you will have a page full of clock in, clock out details. Now you'll see here that they were rostered on for 1 hour 45. They didn't quite work an hour, but what it's done is it didn't quite work a minute, but it's worked it out here as not being the full 1 hour 45. So you can see that it's taken a minute off that time there. We can actually edit these sessions as well. So say for instance, Apache, we actually only clocked him in for 1 minute, but we know that he was on site between 7 a.m. and 8:45. So what we're going to do is click the edit button, and we will click 7 a.m., 8:45. The reference will be BSC because that's the session that he signed in for, and the notes for the change will just be forgot to sign in, like this. Update. And as you can see here, it will then update the time. So you can see 7 to 8:45 is what he's registered as clocked in as. The difference now becomes a white because he's worked the right amount. And if we hover over his name now, you will actually see the change history. So we can see that originally he was clocked in at 10:16 to 10:17. That was changed with the note forgot to sign in. And it can show you when it was updated and who updated it. Just so you have a full history around the changes that are made to the timesheet, and you can keep tabs on that. Another thing you can actually do is if a staff was away, you can edit it just like we did to change the times, and just click staff away, leave, and update. So staff on holiday. And so what that does is it actually works it out as them being absent for that day, and it will show it on the change history also. Awesome. So we will go now to the summary tab. So this is the timesheet tab, and it shows based on the days, the hours worked, and you can actually edit them. The summary gives an overview of the timesheet, essentially. So you can see here that on the left-hand side, it works it out based on the staff member. So we can see Aaron here had a session for before school care and head office. Those are the two different references that were put against the sessions that he worked. And you can see he was rostered on for 18 hours, worked 0. His rate is $15 an hour. So he should be paid 0 based on the fact that he worked 0 hours. If he had worked, for instance, 18 hours, it would work that out based on the rate and given a recommended pay for him. Now you'll see that there's different sessions here, different references here for Apache, so BSC, ASC. That's purely based on the fact that we just inputted different references against Apache than we did for Aaron. So the idea with this is that if you go to the right-hand side here, it'll show hours by reference, and it's broken up before school in BSC. Now generally, if you name them the same thing, so if you keep it consistent with before school being the only before school reference that you have, all of the before school hours will be grouped underneath that. Same with the ASC. all the after school hours will be grouped underneath that ASC reference. And you'll see on the top right hand side also we have days worked. We have rostered days and work days. Just to give you an indication of how many, not necessarily just the hours, as you can see on the left hand side, but also the days that are worked by staff members. Now, something important to note is that currently Aimy does not integrate with any payroll system. So I suppose you have the ability to see here all the details of what they should be paid and all the hours that they worked. But currently we do not have the ability to export these directly into a payroll system, just because we are currently working on the integration. That's not yet complete. One thing that you can do is I'll show you in a second, the ability to export these details into a CSV format, and then you can then upload that into a payroll system if your payroll system allows for that. So let's now jump straight into the report. So if we go report, staff roster report is the first one that I'll show you. Just wait for it to load here. Awesome, and we'll run it for today's week, or this week's dates rather. Awesome. All right, so we have here a report of all the different sessions that staff members are booked in for. This will allow you to export these into a PDF format so that you are actually able to hand them out to staff members. So I suppose this is just an easy way for you to be able to print out a roster and show staff members. And I will quickly show you the timesheet report just because I'm aware of the time. Okay, so here we have, I'll give this week's date range, a timesheet summary. So we have a summary here for all the hours that are worked based on staff members and any changes that are made to the timesheet. You actually have the ability to export them in a report, a summary, and you can then export them to use them later. So I suppose that covers everything in terms of staff, timesheets, and reports.